Recording. All right, cool. Mike Snyder, welcome back. Okay, go on. You were saying you got your three for each underrated and overrated.
Yeah, yeah, I had so for the
How,
lower, what's that?
how do you want to start? Do you want to go underrated first or do you want to go overrated first? I feel like we should go underrated because that's going to give people like the most, and then the rest of the time we're just gonna be bitching. We're just gonna be
Yeah.
like talking shit.
Yeah, yeah, we go underrated. Yeah, I'm all game for that. I'm
All
sure
right.
I'm sure at least we have like one of the three as the same as each other.
Oh, I think we're gonna have more than one of the same.
Okay, yeah,
I
that
have a feeling we're gonna, just based on conversations that we've had, I think that we're probably gonna. I'll be surprised if we don't have like multiple of the same for each, for underrated and for overrated.
yeah, no, for sure, definitely. Yeah, no, I was looking at my lower ones and definitely, I would have to start it off with the most like underrated, but the most, I guess, gets a bad rap. You and I were talking about before in the past is Smith machine squats. I love them. I
All right,
love.
so we're going on. Okay, so we are going underrated first, which, by the way, topic for today, we're just diving right in. We're doing our most underrated exercises, the things that we don't see a lot of people doing and we don't see a lot of people talking about. And then we're going to go overrated, which we see way too many people talking about, way too many people doing, and they're not as effective as, what we would class the underrated in.
Right. Yeah,
Right? Is that kind of the guidelines here? If you
yeah,
were to put, does that sound good?
that sounds great to me, man. Yeah, I'm all
All
for it.
right. Yeah. So, well, before we get into that, first off, do you have any like ones that you were thinking about before getting into the official list? Like any honorable mentions
In terms of exercises,
in terms of underrated ones? Yeah. Like if you got three, like if we do our top three, like
hmm
did any were there any that you were struggling with? Like, should I put this on the list or not?
yeah, there was one that it was more in the upper body. It was like
What was that?
it's just like a standard like the seated cable row, but like leaning forward doing it. Like just like a variation of that. Like I
Okay.
yeah. I
With
always
a straight bar or with like one arm at a time?
well, actually I was thinking more of like with like, your traditional V bar.
Okay.
Kind of or even like if you have a mag I have a mag grip attachment in my garage gym, so I use that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you
I get jealous of your home setup, man.
I
Yeah, sometimes that, but I mean, for me, I would never leave the house. Like I would just never leave the house.
yeah.
If I had a gym in my house, I just would never leave.
Smith machine would be the death of me. If I had that in my house, there would be officially, I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't go back to the gym.
Yeah, I don't think that's good because then you need to go into the world. Like,
Exactly. Because I'm already working on my own anyway. So it's like,
yeah,
the monotony of that and not having social interaction. Actually, like we're human, right? So we need
yeah, right, right.
that to a degree. Yeah, I definitely think that.
So,
Go ahead.
so a cable row.
Yeah, so whenever you're doing the cable row though, like I've been really just the 2 years straight I've been doing it like that. So like you know how you're not traditionally upright row and back, rather
Hmm.
slightly just lean
Hmm.
forward. Kind of like that variation to get
So
much
like
more
stretching your lats out,
flat
really
line.
getting a good stretch on your lats, coming back, and even like targeting the lower lats a little bit.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I
There's so
think
many different things you could do with the cape, just how you position your
your body.
body and how you row.
Mhm.
If you're bringing your elbows down, you could really dig into your lower lat. If you flare your elbows out, you can
Employ that
get in
rhomboid
exactly,
strap.
or even traps.
Yeah, you can
So
shrug up and you can like shrug up and
yeah.
do such a high row too. Like there's so many ways you can go about it. But I just think that's a really I don't know. I don't see too many people if you were to walk into a gym. I don't see too many people doing that. But I think like there's just not a lot of there's a lot of fear mongering around bending your back when lifting. And
Rounding your back.
around, yes, yeah, like yeah,
Yeah, if you have a strong lower back, which we'll talk about too, because you're totally right. If you have a strong lower back, which you should have a strong lower back, you should
100%.
have strong glutes. So if you're rounding your back, it's still safe. You're not going to hurt your back. In fact, you're gonna feel your lats more if you round your back a tad, because if you're trying to target your lats, you're not like fully arching and working your lower back. You want to round a little bit depending on the exercise. So I utilize that technique a lot, a
Yeah,
lot.
I think it's really effective for the, especially for the lats, because again, you want to get stretch under load for the muscle. You want to do a lot of
Mhm.
things for it. So I think that's really beneficial for that variation of a row. I really
I
do.
agree. I agree. Um, so this is gonna be hard, man. This is gonna be hard because I there is a lot of exercises that I think are like even just thinking now, another one popped into mind. So, and we'll even talk about it because there a lot of times there are variations of the overrated exercises.
Yeah,
Sometimes I think the most overrated exercises are the one that look the coolest. Like those are the ones that like, like without getting into them, they look cool, but they're not necessarily super effective for muscle growth.
right.
Um, but one for me, like that's we'll call this an honorable mention, is reverse flies. I think bent over reverse flies for rear delts are phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. They're one of my favorite exercises. They don't really tax you out too much. Like they're a good exercise to do in higher rep ranges. You can do them heavy, but they don't require a ton of recovery. And rear delts are a neglected muscle group.
100%. Highly neglected, man.
Right, and they add so much. They're a muscle group that just adds so much in every aspect. So from the side, they add a nice little 3D effect to your physique.
Yes, caps those delts off, man.
They cap the delts. From the back, obviously, they add a ton. I mean, if you see someone doing a back double bicep and they don't have rear delts, I mean, it's like stands out. But when you have those rear delts popping out, it kind of gives the nice silhouette for the physique. And if you really, really, I mean, you could do reverse flies 3 times a week. They just don't require, like, they don't require, like, sometimes I'm like, if I'm like, I got a little extra in the tank, maybe I train something like I could even train. Well, legs is hard to throw on, tack on after that, but you could even do them like before legs. It's not going to like tap into your, energy reserves that much.
No,
They,
no.
so they don't require a ton of recovery and they add a lot.
Right.
So that's one of my favorite ones. I don't see a lot of people like when I look around the gym, that's kind of like my litmus test here is where I'm kind of like, I look on, Instagram or at the gym, in real life, and I just like don't see a lot of people doing bent over flies, reverse
Mm,
flies. Like I don't like, other than myself, and maybe if you go to like a real bodybuilder gym, you'll see it. But that's one exercise that I really don't see many people doing. I see some people do the reverse pec deck, which is
yes.
great. I like that. But I don't see much other rear delt work. I don't even see a lot of people doing like reverse cable flies.
Yeah, honestly, I don't see a ton of that at all. Like to your point, the only people that I do see doing rear delt work are on the reverse pec decks. Um, yeah, I love like the bent over rear delt flies. I think too, like I even sprinkle in some rear delt swings. So like
What do you mean rear delt swings?
so they're like a rear delt fly but chest supported.
Oh,
And
okay.
that I won't go up the full way, just enough to like feel that contraction and then come down and not let them come to like full stretch, but nearly almost like I don't know, it's like you just feel a constant like burn and tension in them. I like to implement that every once in a while. Um,
Yeah.
And but yeah, dude, a rear delt fly is you can't beat a good one,
And
especially.
doing the reverse cable fly superset with the bent over flies, because bent over flies, you could, I mean, because you are swinging. I mean, if you, I like to lead with my elbows and have the dumbbells kind of facing outwards and kind of go out with them. Sometimes you have a little angle, so it's, like that. But if you can load a lot of weight up. So I find that doing the reverse cable flies, because you can't do a lot of weight with those,
Mm-mm.
and fatiguing out with those, and then supersetting with the bent over reverse flies, where now you, instead of like swinging around the 40 pounds, you're doing, 25 pounds. That you leave and your whole delt is capped off
Mm-hmm.
when you leave the gym. Like you're like, oh, I wish it would stay like this. Like,
I
God,
do.
it looks so awesome. Like,
I think what it comes to too, if I were to go around the gym and ask people why, is for example, why they wouldn't do it, I feel like I would get a lot of answers of I don't feel it as much. And I'll be like, well, if I had to like come back with that um that answer, if I were to get that, which I because I've heard this before. It's and I feel like if I just go to ask it again in a different gym that I'm at now, it'd be the same answer. But yeah, I would think that a lot of people, and I feel myself doing reverse cable flies. I do like a chest supported one with my cable stack I have, and what I noticed is I get a lot. And this every individual to everyone, but I noticed that if I keep a slight bend in my elbows, and
yeah,
if I have too much weight, it's like turning into like it's just like a
a
mid
row.
row.
Yeah.
So, dude, keeping the triceps contracted the whole time and just like keeping like right there, dude, it literally made them scream. So like just implementing that small change of keeping your triceps, I'd be like, hey, listen, lock them elbows. Not like you don't have to do it straight, but like keep them bent. Don't let them move from that point, and then pull. And holy crap, like that
See,
connect.
that's super interesting to me because for me, if I don't have a slight bend in my elbows, then I feel it in my triceps. So my
Yeah,
tri like I and in my elbows. So if I have a slight bend, that's when I feel it in my rear delts. Like even doing that right now, I feel it in my rear delts.
but I think the common theme here though is the I think the instability at the elbow. So like it's more about like wherever you feel it, whether it's here like you do, like at the bent position, or this like me, I feel it like in a semi bent, like
Mhm.
a quarter bend of elbow flexion here. I think that just maintaining that position really helps with that connection. So
Yes.
and I see a lot of people they're like just their forearms are going everywhere. Like it's
Right,
like
right, 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 right,
that's like
right.
stationary. So I think
And
that's
there's swing and a lot of like swinging. It's
Mhm.
an exercise where, because if you don't do it correctly, you're using arms and back and lats. Like you're using a lot of different muscle groups to get the weight up.
Right.
So, it's one of those where like checking the ego and
Correct.
using a weight that is challenging, but not where it's going to, require your different muscle groups. Even your side delts are going to work, your front delts are going to work.
100%.
So, and most people are front delt dominant.
100%. Yeah.
So, so that's my honorable mention. That's one of my like, that's an exercise for me that is like, I have to do it. Like
It's
I
a non
love doing it. It's a non-negotiable. So, um, all right. So back to your Smith machine. Did you say Smith machine squat?
yeah, that was the
Yeah.
first one I wrote off. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that
Man,
your number one?
but this is my number one,
That's
man.
my number one too.
I love it because what machine can you like at the end of the day, like we're bodybuilders, where we want to, challenge ourselves with intense loads at high rep ranges or moderately, anywhere it could be anywhere from 6 to 30, right? So what squat pattern can you load up the heaviest? Well, I mean, you can do hack squat too, but um, that you feel the most in the most upright position without, you know, you can do this exercise with stimulating your quads the most without taxing your lower back significantly. Like I said, aside from hack squats, like this movement's definitely, I think, very underrated because not for the fact that you can just do that, you can really load it up and progress at a decent rate on it, but it's also it gets a bad reputation, whereas it's like, oh, you're not using your core to, I mean, you're not using like your lower back to stabilize or anything. You're not, it's not a true compound lift. It is. I mean, you still have to stabilize
The
yourself.
bar, you're not getting that much help with that bar. It's
No,
not that much.
no, it's not.
It's
It's just keeping you in a dictated path of
yeah, and you
motion.
could
Like,
stay upright.
yeah, and that's the thing. It allows you to train. It's man, my core gets I get obliterated. Like I gotta do them tomorrow. And I honestly like it messes it really hits my nervous system hard, especially right now. I'm at the end of a training block. Like it's just it's
Yeah,
so
but also too, like when I get into a Smith machine squat, I'm not trying to train my core. I'm not
no,
worried about my
yeah,
core. I'm trying
no,
to train my quads. Like that is
exactly.
what I'm trying to train.
Exactly. So I mean, even the matter of like it's just such a great lower body like compound lift.
Yeah.
Like it's just so undervalued. And to be honest with you, you're gonna get closer to failure on a Smith machine than you're gonna get on a barbell back squat. And that's
Yeah.
my opinion for most people.
So one of the nice things about it, because like that's my number one too. And even today I was training legs and so I like to start with hamstring curls, like a form of hamstring curls. We've talked about this before.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, get that joint
either
aligned.
lie, yeah, either lying or seated to focus on my hamstrings because that's like a huge part muscle group that I'm trying to bring up. So
Mhm.
starting where I'm freshest,
Yeah.
and then also getting the knee warmed up. So
Mhm.
you are getting blood flow to your knee while you're doing a hamstring curl. So
Yes.
I go from a hamstring curl to a leg extension. So by the time I get done with my leg extensions, my soft tissue is ready to rock to the point where I don't, I could do a warm up, 1 to 2 reps with, 135, then another warm up with say like 150, 160, and then, 180, 200. I'm there. It doesn't take me that long to warm up after I've done these exercises.
Right.
My mind muscle connection is there. I just did leg extension, so my quads, they're ready to work.
Yeah.
I'm feeling everything in my quads. If I were to start the exercise, I may feel things in my hips. I may feel things in my glutes. Like we just talked about, the whole point of this exercise, at least for me, and I would say for most bodybuilders, your main focus is your quads.
Yeah.
So yeah, so when you get into the movement, you can go to failure because let's say you're on your last rep and you know that you're probably not coming back up. You can get the eccentric on that and even get a little bit more, which by the end, I will say by the end, by my last couple reps, typically that's when my glutes come into play, is because my quads are just fucking fried. And now, even, when I get down, now I can feel my glutes they're starting to work too, which I don't mind. That's okay at the end.
Yeah.
But when you're coming back up and you're not coming back up, all you got to do is go like this.
You just
Boom.
little
Boom. You
focus.
got your bumpers set. So I have my little bumpers set at like a 3. So I already know going in, like I'm taking this set to complete failure. And by failure, I mean I'm not coming back up.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you just
You're finishing.
boom,
Yeah.
rack it, fall down. You're right there on the floor. And you've just gone to failure, which you can't do with a barbell squat.
You
You
can't.
cannot.
You can't. And I
Yeah.
if you let's say for the person that may not have access to a Smith machine, you can go closer to failure if you have one experience with a heavy loading of a squat, two if you have safeties, and three if you know how to bail properly out of.
Yeah, right, right, right.
That's like, but that it's just there's more risk than reward than there is with the Smith machine, in my opinion, when it
I
comes to
agree.
that. So that's why I always find it, and it's highly beneficial because you don't need anyone there to you don't need anyone there to help bail you out if you do get in a sticky
Did
situation.
you ever see that video of that dude that died?
Yeah, and
Like,
over in
like
India,
if is that where it was?
I
Yeah,
don't
I
I think
remember it was going viral.
it was last year or something. Yeah, he like bailed. The guy spotted him wrong. Like he like, and it just dropped on his neck, and he severed his spine.
Yeah, like dude, like seeing all that stuff, like
Yeah, it's dangerous.
yeah, that wait also like why are you I mean, I guess I would just never have be at a point where I'd be like loading up like that much weight on a barbell squat. Um, but I will say that even like a barbell squat for me, I can't my structure is such that I can't stay upright in a barbell squat. I have to low bar squat. And I
hmm
don't feel that in my quads. I feel that in a lot in my hips,
Yeah.
a lot in my hips, a
hmm
ton in my hips. And I always struggled with that. It wasn't until and then I kind of avoided the Smith machine for those reasons that we're just talking about. I'm like, barbell squat, like that's like the
The king.
golden goose, that's like the main thing. It looks the coolest. And Um, I as soon as I moved over to the Smith machine and started like really honing in on my technique, man, my legs started growing like crazy. Like that is where I mean that to me, I've kicked myself. I'm like, why wasn't I doing that earlier?
Yeah, dude.
I wish I would have done it earlier.
I wasted. Not wasted. I can't say it's wasted. It was a learning experience. I did front squats for the first when I felt like when I really dove deep into bodybuilding, like back when I found out about like Cliff and all them, like it was like 2016, 2015. Like I was still training before all that, but when I got into bodybuilding itself, I was like doing front squats. And man, I was hitting like fours and sixes with like 285 and stuff. Like I was just unreal. Like I made a lot of progress with that
What
movement.
kind of bar were you using?
I
What kind
was
of bar were you using?
dude, I was using just a regular 45 pound
Bar.
bar, and I was getting underneath it with the wrist. I had the wrist mobility at the
Oh
time.
man.
I was getting underneath it. I was crushing like dude, my actually one of my clients, Rob, if you're listening to this by chance, Rob, him and he knows that every Saturday, man, it
Front
was
squat
a
day.
fun day. But yeah, I mean, nonetheless, it really, I mean, I think there was some carryover. My genetics aren't built for me to squat either back squat high, like even high bar, because I fold like a freaking sandwich eventually after it gets to like when your core can't handle it, so
Mhm.
I would do even when you get fatigued, like you start to fold over a little bit more, like you can't keep
You're
upright.
not working the muscle. You're
Yeah,
not working, you're just blasting your soft tissue.
yeah, you're just really taxing yourself, and you're taxing your body like more than it necessarily, like you're not stimulating that muscle to its full potential.
Becomes not a bodybuilding exercise.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And that's really kind of where we're coming from. If you're a power lifter, I mean, come on, you got us. You have to. I mean, that's
Yeah, that's just
that's
like
it's part of the game.
black and
But
white in that when it comes to that.
right. And I will say if you're a bodybuilder and you feel it, then go for it. But if you
Yeah.
don't feel it, which I do think a lot of people don't feel it, a lot of people don't feel it, then the Smith machine. Try the Smith machine. If you haven't tried the Smith machine, anyone I've showed the Smith machine to after they've seen it, that's their thing. I
Dude, honestly, I could spend like half my workout there. But
agree.
yeah, honestly, it's especially with the big lifts. I love using it for the like hip thrusts and incline dumbbell. I mean, incline benching. I love
Okay, so
to.
all right, so why don't we move on? I think
Sure.
we're gonna be talking about legs a lot, but why
Yes.
don't we move on? Because what's your number two? Because I have um I mean you just said mine.
I had so I had leg press like but it again variation of
For
like
underrated, you had leg press?
oh no I was listing out my yeah
Okay,
uh
so you think leg press is underrated? I don't do you I think that is rated pretty high. No, do you think leg press gets a bad?
I don't think no, I don't think it necessarily gets a bad rap. For underrated, I would say probably for lower body movements. No, it doesn't get a bad rap. I think the way that it's utilized can sometimes like the way people
Technique wise?
is very yeah, the way I think from
Yeah.
a technique perspective, it's very underrated. Uh,
Um, in what? Okay, so go ahead, elaborate.
so like literally I see people load up the leg press for like 9 or 10 plates and
Mhm.
they'll get all hyped up and they'll unrack it and then all I'm seeing is this at their knee.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. All right. So
It's
we're
like,
talking more technique.
yeah,
Like, okay, okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
from that
yes,
perspective, that's what
yes.
when I was thinking of it.
Okay.
I feel like load is prioritized way too much with it, and,
Yeah,
and form is just totally through in the backyard. Like it's just like,
dude. Every gym you do see it with the
mhm.
leg press in particular. It's one of those machines that you could load up and it looks impressive, but then like because also you can perform the rep without completely fucking yourself up. You
Oh,
know, so you could perform those little reps and not just like completely destroy
right.
yourself.
You know,
Um, but man, it's like these little tiny, not even half reps. They're like quarter reps, you know?
it's just
Um,
so bad.
yeah, and you just have all of this weight on the machine.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just like too. I think it's too from a point you're just gonna spin your wheels over time. Literally, I've dropped the weights probably by 3 plates per side, like compared to what I used to do when I was like a dumb high schooler. And high
Yeah.
schoolers are dumb, but whenever I did
Yeah.
not know as much as I did then, like literally, I feel my quads way more with a lot less loading on it and just a lot better technique and tempo and like just I would say not tempo in the sense of trying to focus on a 3 second drop, but like just keeping my cadence of my reps smooth.
The lockouts freak me out.
Yeah, oh yeah, with the knee.
I can't even look at them. Like they're just like when I see someone lock out, I'm just like, oh man, like it
I
just
ugh,
it
I see that. Yeah.
makes me sick.
I would like I'll see you in the clinic here in a couple weeks whenever.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of sick, you want to hear something crazy that happened to me this week? This is kind of nuts. Actually, this wasn't this week, this was yesterday. All right, so I was my morning routine is I wake up and I have breakfast, which usually consists of now it's a protein shake and maybe like some raisin bran or a cereal bar or a bagel, something like that, something quick, so then I
Yeah.
could just get to work. And then I have coffee with collagen in it. So that's my morning routine.
Mhm.
And I do it every day, every single day. That's you know. Um, so yesterday. I'm sitting there doing work and I'm having coffee, and all of a sudden I get nauseous. And I'm just like, whoa. Like, and I don't get nauseous. Like, I don't, that's not something that just happens to me.
Right.
So I sit there and I'm just like, I get nauseous for a second. And I'm like, whoa. And I get so nauseous that I need to like put my computer to the side and just like, like you're like feeling sick and you're just like, like you gotta like just kind of gather yourself, like you're just kind of feeling everything going woo
Yeah.
woo, like just like all right, so either this is gonna pass because no, like if it ever does happen, it just passes or whatever.
Right.
You don't just puke. Um, Not yesterday. So yesterday I'm just sitting there and I'm like, it got so bad, and this is all in the course of like probably like 3 or 4 minutes, and I'm just like, ooh, and I just run to the bathroom and just puke, dude.
Oh
I just
shoot.
puke, man. And it's like, I'm like, and I'm kind of like, not laughing, but like going like, what the hell? Like how? I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, because I don't feel sick. And the flu is going around. I don't know about you, but I got shitload of clients checking in, super sick, flus, bugs, colds, COVID, everything's going around.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But so I'm puking, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is wild. I'm like, because I'm like, now I'm waiting. I'm like, am I like gonna like be sick or like what's going on? Because usually like if you got the flu or something, you're right after that first one, that's when the wave of like, okay, we're getting sick.
Yeah, everything, every exit is getting,
Yeah, you start to get sick. So I but nothing.
that's great.
Absolute and so I was like, I brushed my teeth and I jumped in the shower and I'm sitting there. I go, am I sick? I go, I don't feel sick. I go, I feel fine. I mean, I got the music going. I'm fine. It was a rest day.
Did
And
you
I'm
take
like,
coffee before you drank something? Like before you
it
ate
was
something?
while I was drinking coffee.
I hmm. That's
Decaf.
interesting.
Decaf
Yeah.
coffee too. Because normally, like if I'm going to the gym, like let's say I go to the gym at like 2 or 3,
Hmm.
that's when I'm taking my pre-workout.
Yeah.
So I don't need caffeine in the morning coffee.
Hmm.
And I also find there was some research on this that if you don't drink your caffeine like right when you wake up, it hits harder when you do take it. Like so the research said to drink your caffeine like 1 to 3 hours after you wake up.
Yeah, I have
I
heard.
I can't. I've tried it. I can't tell a difference. I
I
really can't. I can't.
I think an hour. I think I go an hour, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna eat. I mean, but that's after I do a bunch of pre-morning stuff.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, huh.
So, but with the decaf coffee, I find that just the simple act of drinking coffee that's enough. And
Yeah,
then when I go to the gym, I'm like, all right, let's get crazy,
right.
and then I'll have, 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine. But so I'm just drinking decaf coffee. I'm not even drinking regular coffee.
Yeah, that's
And I
interesting.
and I just got sick. And then that was it. It came and went. That was not no nothing.
Did
Can,
you?
can,
This is
isn't that weird?
jogging my. Well, this is jogging my like from my home health experience. Like, are you
Yeah.
dizzy at all? Like, were you like when you
No,
like
nothing.
nothing? Huh? You that's
Nothing.
because if you had a drop in blood pressure and you stood up or something and it like and
Uh-uh.
and it dropped really quick, like that could happen in that instance. I don't know if it's the acidity from the coffee or what. Like,
Nothing.
huh?
I wasn't on a
It's interesting.
you know what? You know what? For breakfast, I had 2 cereal bars.
Mhm.
That's not a lot. And a protein shake.
Yeah,
That's not a ton of substance in your stomach
right.
with coffee.
Hmm. It might be. Might have been.
I finished my coffee though like afterwards. Like, isn't that fun? Like normally you'd be like dumping out, but I was like, there's some collagen in there, and I'm like, just slam it.
It's like uh, I've seen a guy that I know this is totally off topic, but I've seen my one buddy sent me a video of his friend. He was drinking a beer and he was obviously drunk, and he took a drink of he like took a drink of beer, like threw up, and he took it
Oh,
again.
dude, that's
Why'd you
another
go
level.
back to it? Why'd you go back
Oh,
to it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
That's
reminded
disgusting.
me of that.
Yeah, usually if you throw up from something, that's the end of it, or even like the taste or even the thought of it will make you sick.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was like a fluke. Like it was just like
Man.
yeah, it was like a random thing. Or the other thing is maybe I did have a flu or maybe something and it just didn't like
Didn't phase you too much.
my maybe I took care of it.
That's interesting. Huh.
Because it is there's a lot going around. I've talked to a lot of people and a lot of people seem to be getting sick.
My whole family was, recently sick too, so it's definitely
Anyway,
down with the sickness again.
dude, no. Okay. So one thing that's funny is when someone's sick, you ever notice they they gotta come up to you and talk to you, and then they gotta tell you that they're sick. They have to tell you that they're sick. Hey, how's it going? Oh man, oh man, I just can't get over this sickness. I'm like, see you later.
Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean?
I've done that. Like I've like been at the gym or whatever, and you have whatever conversation, and they'll just be like, "Man, I'm just just getting over this, or I've been this or that, or I've had this or whatever. I'm like, I go right to the bathroom. If I gave him a fist bump, I wash my hands. I'm like, I didn't touch anything. And then I'm like, make up an excuse. I'm like, oh, I forgot the dumbbells over there. Let me go over there, and I'm like, why,
Oh, the
why are
wife's
you talking
calling.
to me? Yeah, like at least keep your distance if you're sick right now. I don't want to get a cold or anything like that.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been told that. Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, it's like, oh man, I was so sick last week, and they still sound nasally. I'm like, I think you're still sick.
Especially in your line of work too, when you're going to patients. Like you probably come in, they're like, come on in. Oh, don't mind me. I just been sick all week.
I got a little pocket with a like. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put this mask over me. All right, yeah, I'm gonna stand over here.
My mom was a massage therapist, and she used to tell me that like people would come in to get their massage like sick as hell, and what are you gonna do? Like you're not gonna be like, get out of here. You're gonna
Yeah,
you're providing a service, but at the same time, like, I would never put somebody in that position. If I'm sick, just
yeah,
reschedule.
exactly. Nah, you'd be surprised. It happens
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, but that happens to me like on the daily.
Yeah. Yeah, right. All right. So leg press, that's your
The technique of it's underrated.
the
I mean,
technique, the technique. Okay, I got
undervalued.
you on that. So mine, well, is there anything else you want to say about leg press or
Um, I just think too, like a lot of people, like they put their, I think just not that you can't do this if you want to bias like your glutes and stuff, but I just feel like they put their feet too high on it, and I feel like it's mainly predominantly you can do. I mean, you can work your glutes on it with a high placement, and some
yeah.
people intentionally do, but I think people put it on there with the intention of trying to put as much load on as possible while trying thinking they're really working their quads where their feet aren't low enough, they don't have enough ankle mobility to really hit their quads well. Like there's just so much to unpack with it that I
Do
think
you do you work on mobility or any flexibility or anything like that? Because I was thinking the other day about myself, and
Mhm.
I was thinking, I go, where, where can I do better? Like, what am I missing? Because I think you could always be doing
So
not necessarily more, but like there's always room for improvement, right? I think it's so easy to just get into the like, okay, I just got this down and I don't need to change anything. And so I
yeah,
think that's like a dangerous kind of place. But like I was thinking, I'm like, well, the diet, that's like nothing to me. Like,
right. That's more like the powerlifting. Like it's like you got to get your proteins, carbs,
yeah,
fat,
yeah, yeah. It's
that's your
just,
percent. It was like that's it.
there's not much more to be done with the diet.
Right.
The training, that's going as well as it's ever gone. My training has never been this good. This off season is going so well. It's going so well.
Like wait,
So
just
yeah, no, I feel like I feel like everything is right where it should be. Everything is growing. Everything feels great. The progress is tangible. It's going so well that I'm like, man, I don't even feel the urge to prep again because this off season is going so well right now. Like 2026. Like that's where I got my sights on.
yeah,
But I can't tell you the last time I've gotten a massage.
yeah. No,
I can't tell you like I don't stretch because my thought process behind stretching uh is, and I'm trying to remember who was I
I
talking to about this?
I don't stretch. I don't. I mean, even with my
Well,
PT background, I don't even stretch before my
well,
work
here's the thing.
or anytime.
Your muscles, if you're going through a workout, any workout, your muscles are going through the full range of motion hundreds of times.
Right.
What is the point of adding more load to that?
Right.
Like you're going to add more load to that. So that's could potentially cause overuse.
Right.
If you warm up properly, which I do, I'm a huge warm up person. And then you train properly and you don't have any pain.
Yes.
Tell me why is there a need to insert stretching? Because I feel like it would be detrimental.
Yeah, I do too. I feel like it's just you're just stretching a rubber like the elastic.
Yeah.
You're just stretching it out and you're just setting yourself up for to further stretch it out and potentially injure that tissue. Like I don't
Yeah.
I just don't see a lot of benefit to it. I think loaded mobility comes with improvement with form over time. So like as you get better with, your squatting, your ankle mobility, as maybe I can improve my depth a little bit. Like over time, you're at like, and this is a thing. People try to fight it all the time. And they squat like in the Smith machine or a hack squat, and their heels pop up. They're like, that rep wasn't good. That reps, it's your heels are gonna come up a little bit. It's just it's gonna happen a little bit. I mean, mine even do on the deepest, and I don't try to go at necessarily ass to grass all the time. But like when I'm trying to, really target my quads and get a good stretch in them and get a good contraction, my ankles come up just a little bit
Dude,
sometimes.
I'm always
Moving around.
adjusting
Yeah.
and readjusting. Like
Yeah.
I'm always like finicking around like in a lot of exercises. Like if I'm like, you know, pressing, I'm fucking keeping my scapula where I want it and kind of readjusting and getting myself where I want it. And no reps like look the exact same. I'm always kind of, by the time you start your set, and by the time, especially if you're getting like into the 20 rep, range or something like that, or 30 rep range, your first 5 reps are going to look very different than your last reps. And a lot of times those last reps you're really feeling it. So it's taken you a couple reps to get into where you're really feeling it. And that might have take a few micro adjustments, but I'm always like micro adjusting while I'm in the set. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, yeah, exactly. And I think too, though, it's like people will, sacrifice their, form just for like the smallest things. And I'm like, listen,
Mhm.
like just it'll get better with time. Like
Yeah.
my hack squat, I had so like my heels wouldn't stay down for like I mean my feet came up so far when I get down to the bottom now. And now that I've gotten stronger with it over time, like man, I could literally sit on my heels if I really wanted to with
That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just so I think mobility, that's just one
Yeah.
example. I think over time, you could gain mobility from just, getting more efficient at whatever movement you're doing.
So maybe we should put stretching in overrated.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I can't tell you how many people are like, do you stretch? I'm like, no, and they're like blown away. I'm like, for the exact reasons that I just said, I would find stretching to be detrimental.
yeah,
And even though you're just stretching, there is still going to be some recovery needed from that. Like
yeah,
you're just adding to the overall load.
yes, exactly. Yeah. And I think there's a time and place to do little things like, um, I would say there's a couple of programs, but like in that incorporates some stretching that you could do outside of your workout. Like and I'm not saying like any not like huge prolonged things, but like quick. I know I've come to find that like doing little quick stretches and stuff can sometimes help with, some joint pain or I mean not well like ligament issues and stuff, but like or I just don't like doing prolonged stretching.
I'm trying to find out. I cannot for the life of me remember who I was talking to about this. He's real Mike Nelson. Mike Nelson. That's who it was. Mike T. Nelson. He's got a real unique way of going about things, and he does a lot of research. And I remember it was him, Cliff, and I, and we were all having a conversation. He was talking about that, and I was like, that makes so much sense to me.
I don't know him actually. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, he's got a lot of real unique takes on things, but I like it. Like he thinks outside of the box a lot.
Yeah. No, I mean honestly, we kind of need more of that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I really do. I think it really can help it can help the industry rather than hurt it.
Yeah. So, well, for me, my second one is Smith bench press.
Love it. You like like
Incline flat. I mean, I pretty much start every chest. So for me, like upper chest, like that's my main focus, which I think most people
it's
like to
mine.
focus. Yeah, I think like that's where most people like to check, unless you have a real shallow lower chest. But incline Smith machine, first off, starting with an incline Smith machine or incline dumbbell, even, it's a real good way of warming your shoulders up.
Yes.
Because your shoulders are going to be involved with your chest lift. So starting with an incline Smith barbell, I don't do any barbell work, none. So barbell, I don't do any. Well, I mean, RDLs I'll do or rows, but no like squats or I
Pressing.
don't do any chest press, man. Any chest press, that's a ticking time bomb for a lot of people. A lot of people, especially because a lot of people when they press, they really flare their elbows out, and that puts your shoulders in such a compromised position. There's a lot of tendons that connect in here, a lot of stuff going on in these corners.
100%.
So anytime I've had and if one of your, I will say that if one of your limbs is a little bit longer than the other, or one of your arms range of motion is a little bit more than the other, when you're going down, one of those sides that's going down more or that's tighter, that's when you're using a barbell, you don't have the flexibility
Mhm.
and the option to kind of adjust that.
Correct.
With the Smith machine, because you're getting that assistance and it's keeping that bar path
Right. Right.
in its locked position. Because once you get your bar path, you're in. You're
Yes.
good.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're good. So, for me, it's like I think it's my number one chest exercise. That is like my shotgun. Like if I have like I'm coming in like with my shotgun and then I got my handgun, so it'd be like
Primary.
in yeah, it'd be like my incline chest press, that's my main weapon. And then, say like a machine press or even like cable press or dumbbell press would be like my handguns, and then I'm gonna finish it off with cable flies or pec deck or I really don't do that much dumbbell fly work, to be honest, because there's not a lot of
Primary.
tension. Like you lose the tension with that, whereas cables, like if you do a flat cable fly or a incline cable fly, you could keep the tension pretty much throughout the entire movement, entire rep.
That's the dumbbell like incline, well Smith incline dumbbell and all that. Like even the machine. I mean the cable column flies. That's definitely one of my overrated movements.
Is it? Okay.
No, not overrated,
No,
underrated.
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 Yeah, I had a feeling we were gonna line on that one too.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, but when you were talking about the barbell and how like it's just like a ticking time bomb, you're correct. I mean, it's a lot of people, I don't know about you, but again, going back to the rep cadence, I feel like if people slow down a little bit rather than bouncing it off their chest the whole time, like I feel like a lot of people might not load their tendons up as much, but after you've loaded and progressed the movement so much on a bench press, like a barbell bench press, like man, something you're exactly right. Like there's gonna have be some asymmetries where one's not going up as high as the other arm, and it's going to catch up eventually
Dude,
without.
if I press a barbell, I can look and one side is higher than the other.
Mhm.
Your limbs do not attach in the exact same spots
No,
on both sides.
no,
You That's something you don't really know until you kind of become familiar with your body and your physique. It's not like your this arm is attached on the exact same spot on this side. They're different. There are differences, believe it or not, in where your limbs attach, how they attach. And so that's something you have to take into consideration while you're making your while you're performing your reps. So a barbell, that's why dumbbells, it's not such a big deal because you can kind of micro adjust and then, you're doing things on each side. So it's easier to, you know, perform that safely. Whereas if you're locked into a barbell and one side's doing one thing and the other side's doing another thing, and this side doesn't like that thing, but that barbell's still coming down, boom, that's where you're going to get a tweak.
Yeah.
And all of my it took me a long time to learn that because you had to tweak so many times to be like, oh, wait a minute, this is what's going on here. I need to think about this. I need to
Yeah.
think, why is this happening?
Yeah, it's just it's definitely I love prioritizing dumbbell work a lot. I mean, my dumbbell incline's probably my favorite movement. I
Do you
mean,
have any imbalances like that? Like, so for me, um, like my left arm is longer than my right arm. And that bet your ass that plays a role in my training.
yeah,
I have to think about that. So I can't just blindly go through. I have to kind of adjust things because other words, if not, I'm going further down on one side because if I'm at full extension here, this one's way fully extended. So I have to kind of adjust to even things out and make sure the movement is going smoothly in the same pattern. Other words, it's just kind of a mess. And it took me a
yeah,
while. Like there were times where I had to like have someone be like, all right, can you let me know if I'm performing this and if things are moving evenly and if my muscles, you're seeing my muscles, the range of motion um move smoothly and if everything looks correct. And I would have them stand behind me and do it. And then I have these cues that I go through. And the more time that you do that, the easier that gets and the more like you can just kind of do it without thinking about it. Not that you can't think about it.
right.
I get when I see people that just you ever see someone that you just man, they feel everything. Like they just got it. Like and they don't even think about it. Like they are just blessed. Like not everybody's like that.
No.
So you have to take these things into consideration while training.
Yeah. No, I have the same thing with the press. Like when I go to press, do incline press on dumbbells, I have a torn labrum on this shoulder. Had it for like 8 years, and it's minor tear, nothing crazy, but enough to feel it. It's like super. Doesn't feel as controlled as my left arm. So I really need to pay attention to, when I come down, like I'm controlling every rep, like and not messing it up. Because I have friends, I have had patients and so many weightlifters that are avid bodybuilders that have torn their labrum and they've done it in the gym. And it's just something, not that it's like really been fearful to me, but just knowing that I have that, it's like, okay, I need to be careful here. And I always have to make sure, and I can tell when I'm getting fatigued that this arm does not want to get into that chest in a stretch position as much as this one towards the end as we're getting closer to failure. Like it's by like maybe this much, but but it's definitely a notable difference.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that, and then it's definitely fatiguing on a lot of like rowing that I do. So I can tell that it's like really, it's like if I have like a 2D handle like row that I'm doing, like two separate D handles, two K,
You feel it in your bicep?
I start feeling it in the middle part of my bicep because I'm like, oh, yep, it's
Yeah.
starting to give, man. So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely agree
Yeah.
on that.
So that's like I mean, that's like a major thing,
Yeah.
when you're training. So because I'm the same way. That's even with my back. Like, once things start, especially on my left side. So, because even my left side, the muscle is attached a little further forward.
Mhm. Okay.
So when you're thinking about that, of course you're going to feel things differently. And when you start fatiguing, yeah, your bicep is going to come into play.
Oh, for sure.
So that's when it's kind of you have to. That's why stopping and micro adjusting and finishing your set, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-mm. Not
You
at
kind of
all.
have to if you
Hmm.
have imbalances.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely got to pay attention to those because I mean they'll add up over time. But I
And if
mean,
you don't, then you're just so, if you just blindly ignore it, then that's when you start pushing through it. And then that's when you're like, oh, yeah, okay, now I got to tweak.
yeah, yep, no, 100%. I agree with you. It's definitely something you got to pay attention to.
So we both love the Smith machine squat. We both love the Smith machine bench. I knew we were both gonna align with that. Do you have any other ones?
For underrated,
Yeah.
yeah, I briefly mentioned the chat. I agree with you. I don't do it. I haven't done a dumbbell fly since like freaking 2018. But I
Damn,
think
you know the exact date.
yeah, exactly. I love me a chest fly, but like on like the cable stack with like a bench in front of the cable stack and just getting that gnarly stretch.
A bench in front of the cable stack. Can you
So,
explain that? What do you mean?
sure. So I actually have this set up in my home gym. So I have the cables behind me. I have a functional trainer, so like
Uh-huh.
weight set up, like those Life Fitness ones where they're like in a
So you
they
got two sides of okay, oh, okay,
yeah,
gotcha. So and then you have the bench in between
yeah,
or
yeah.
okay, gotcha.
And I'm doing them like right there with the squeeze, getting back
So good,
stretch.
dude.
That's
So good.
there's nothing that burns more than that that
So
metabolism
good.
stimulus, man.
Yeah.
At a high reps. I think that is very literally like I've had that in for 2 years now, 2 or 3 years, like consistently, and I've really noticed my chest come up from not just solely doing that, but adding that in has really helped supplement it, I think.
You don't need a ton of weight either, like with that, because like there's
Oh,
tension throughout the entire movement. So you can really, and that is one where I do find like, because a lot of exercise is not necessarily safe to pause in the eccentric, like it could be kind of risky, but I feel like that exercise, because by the time you've gotten to your chest flies, which are typically at the end of your lift, you have so much blood in there and your chest is so pumped that you can really focus on a real slow eccentric with that. Even pause it for a second, come up, squeeze your chest, get a huge gnarly squeeze without locking out, but really just focusing on your chest and then coming back. It's my favorite. If I could only choose one form of a fly, cable fly with a bench,
yep. I think,
flat and incline. I love them. Oh, I love them.
dude, I literally I finished I can't tell you the last time I didn't not go to failure on like a flat cable fly. Like it's just like
Yeah.
it's like I just try to squeeze out those like even a few partials at the end and try to get a little bit extra in there. And it's dude, there's no feeling like it. Honestly, it makes you literally. I don't know. Honestly, I think it carries over to like my dumbbell pressing too because where I think I'm getting close to failure and it's like, oh, and sometimes I do get there. Like I'm not sometimes when I get there, it's like, hey, this is more comfortable to be in, kind of. It's kind of weird, but it's like I'm more comfortable with getting closer to failure on these movements now. And I feel like just adding in some of those like partial reps that I've had with those particular movements with the cables. I definitely think that had some carryover with it, but
Oh, I guarantee that has carryover. I bet you that's led to some good growth too, because also like if you're doing a Smith machine and you could safely bust out a couple partials at the end of there and go to complete failure again, like if you're having a barbell, unless you have a spotter, you are gonna be leaving a couple reps just to make sure you don't kill yourself with that bar. But if you have that Smith machine, you can go to absolute failure. And just like we were talking about with that squat, just rack it on those little pegs there. So that's going to lead to growth. And then if you're doing the cable fly and you can safely bust out a couple partials and go to failure, which I know exactly what you're talking about, that's going to lead to growth.
oh yeah.
So you're just able to train more intensely. And
Yeah,
that's
I
kind of
agree.
like intensity combined with safety is that's a recipe for growth. And I do think cables are one of the safest ways of exhausting the muscle. And I throw cables in underrated just in general because like people, resistance is resistance. It doesn't matter if it's a dumbbell, your muscles aren't like, okay, Mikey's using dumbbells today. Let's just go ahead and switch into dumbbell mode. Okay, cool. Oh, Mikey's using a barbell. Now we're really going to start growing. Oh, cables? Mikey's using cables? No, 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 no. We're not going to grow as much. That's not how your muscles work. Resistance is resistance, and that's all it knows. So I think cables offer some of the most intense forms of resistance that you can muster, and that leads to a ton of growth. And I think that they're neglected typically by guys.
Yeah, no, they really are. 60% of my work, man, right now is I'd say 60% the others like dumbbell work and the Smith machine like is just cables. Like
Do you
it's
do decline on cables? So you ever do
decline
like
press.
a yeah, so like a so my favorite, well, I love doing decline flies,
Hmm.
but and I feel like that's really like you feel that in the middle of your chest, like that separation because that the building the muscle all in the inner parts of your chest.
Yeah.
Decline cables are awesome for that. But for just the complete lower pec, one arm dumbbell or one arm cable press, one arm at a time. I actually like to take my opposing hand and touch the bottom portion of my pec when
Okay.
I'm pressing.
Yeah.
I like to do that with a lot of things. If I could have the opportunity to take like two fingers and put it on my rear delt while I'm doing a reverse pec deck, or even when I'm doing like a glute kickback, or even if I'm doing like hip thrusters on the Smith machine, um, I can kind of let the bar just sit and place my fingers where I want on the portion of my glutes, and then I just feel that mind muscle connection just
Right.
tremendously. So doing that with decline for the lower pec, and I just kind of feel my lower pec and press down. Oh man, nothing. I do it on on each side. Nothing lights up my lower pecs
I
like a
might
one arm decline. It's a one arm decline press.
Yeah. I might have to
Yeah,
give it a try. I've honestly to this day,
phenomenal,
I've never done that.
phenomenal.
I've always done like decline pressing, but like half the time, like I can't even use like you know how gyms have those decline benches that are like freaking the angles like 90 degrees. And it's
Yeah.
like so I just put a couple plates under the front of the bench and press like
Oh,
that.
that's a good idea.
But even then though, it's like I feel like I'm losing more stability over time. So you got my you're
Do
giving me
it and
a lot.
let me know how you like it. I think you're gonna
Yeah,
love it.
I definitely. I think I just ramped out of a deload, so I mean, I think maybe I'll sub that in here.
Yeah, I don't I've haven't declined bench pressed in I don't. I just don't.
Yeah, I've only done decline dumbbell. I haven't done like a legit
Yeah.
like. I think the last time I did was like Smith machine during my prep, like just for a short stint,
Yeah.
19. But
I'm like also like a decline for me is naturally I have good lower pecs. I've
mm,
just been able to genetically build a lot of muscle there. So for me it's more upper
upper and
upper. I'm like obsessed with upper chest, man. Like that is just like I just think it leads to such a good look for the pec and just having that just
well,
chest show.
if it's sticking out on the side
Yeah,
shot,
dude,
the side
it's so
shot,
awesome.
that
Yeah.
looks sick. Like the striations.
It's good. Yeah, yeah. I think like it's something that like all guys want. Like all guys want that like thick upper chest. All right, dude. So those are all. So we align on all those. I agree with every one of those, which I had a feeling we would. Now let's get into overrated. Now we already kind of talked about some of these. So let's not talk about barbell bench because that's in my overrated.
Yeah, it's in
You
money.
know, we talked about barbell squat. So all right, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and lead off. And what's what's in your overrated list?
All right, so I don't know. It might get hate for this, it might not. But I'm sure maybe you can attest to it to a degree too. But deadlifts. I honestly think there's
That's my number one.
like it's cool to see a heavy that's deadlift. It really is awesome.
Yeah,
I chased it for years.
yeah,
You know, and I always had an obsession with doing it on a low body weight. So
yeah,
I could deadlift 435 at 130 pounds. Look at me, woo. But yeah.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm like, it's just it taxes your nervous system far more than your musculoskeletal system. So you're just drain yourself before when you could be chasing. Now, variations of deadlifts I think are really good, like stiff legs for with dumbbells and a barbell
RDLs.
or RDLs. Yeah, like good for like
That's
posterior.
more isolation.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. Like because
Yeah.
but like
You're not working like
yeah,
every single part of your body.
a heavy conventional deadlift is just like I think it just takes away from where you can be putting work elsewhere. Um,
Man, yeah.
it's just I think it's a lot, but
I
yeah,
agree. So that's like that's my other than the barbell bench press, like that was my number one overrated. Now I will so for multiple reasons. So in a bodybuilding format,
right.
you're working your back, your whole back, you're working your glutes, you're working your hamstrings, you're working your quad, your core, all of these different things all at once. So that takes a ton of recovery.
Right.
Oftentimes people will put their deadlifts at the beginning of their workout. Well, if you go into your back day and you start with deadlifts, by the time you get to your like really, really effective hypertrophy exercises like your cable rows or your pull downs or your any type of rowing for your lats, you're fatigued as hell. So your strength is going to be a lot lower because you just exerted yourself. Your
Yeah.
intensity is going to be a lot lower. Even if it's not something that you notice, it's fact.
Yep.
It's fact. So I will say I stopped deadlifting a couple of years back because I wanted to focus on my lats, my upper back. I really felt like that's where I needed to focus. And it became my most improved body muscle group, my back. That said, I will say that I do think there is a time and a place for deadlifts. And I have noticed that I've built a ton of muscle on my upper back, a ton of muscle on my rear delts, ton of muscle in my lats. But now I do feel like my lower back is lacking. So I am going to actually bring in deadlifts again,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to put them at the front of my workout. They're going to be my finishing move. After you deadlift, because deadlift for lower back is phenomenal. It's fucking lights up your lower back a ton. And I don't mind getting the extra, lower body work that comes with that. Putting it at the back of the workout, I'm not going to do it crazy heavy either.
Right.
And by putting at the end of your workout, your strength is going to be lower.
Yep.
So if you can handle that mentally and handle, okay, I'm not putting 405 on the bar. You know what I mean? Like we've all gone through that phase where I'm like, I'm going in and I'm just going to hit these deadlifts and I'm just going to focus on, just being, getting these weights as heavy as possible. I'm not concerned about that anymore. Just want to get stronger with them and use them as a bodybuilding exercise
Right.
and focus on really targeting my low back
Yeah.
and building that up and just using it as a tool instead of like a main source, a main part of the lift. I don't necessarily think it should be the shotgun.
Yeah. To your point, I agree. Do you like with that being said too, do you ever incorporate, and I haven't used this in so long because I don't have it at my gym, but do you use like the hyperextension machine? Like not
Never.
like with the handles and you know what I'm talking about? The
Yeah, I
little
know exactly what you're talking about.
small piece of equipment.
Yeah, we don't have
Yeah.
one at our gym, and I really don't use that machine. I've
And that
always found that I'm first off, you got to do like 50 reps.
that's what you have to do a ton to feel something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I agree with
Because
you.
it's one of those exercises where you're either too heavy, where now I'm like swinging it, or I'm doing like, like way too many reps. And
Yeah,
it's kind of like a leg extension. I was just talking with someone about that today because I'm like, okay, so my rep range is eight to 10 right now for leg extensions. Well, I'm doing 280 pounds on the leg extension. Okay, so like I don't really want to be doing that much weight on the leg extension. I just don't really feel like it's necessary. But
right.
if I drop so let me go down to like, 230, but now I'm like at 28 reps. So it's like there's like a huge difference in that poundage where it's like I'm either here in this low rep range or like in this really, really high rep range. And it's one of the reasons like I like doing like high intensity techniques with leg extensions,
Yeah. No,
drop
honestly.
sets, the superset, stuff like that.
I would say if I had to use the HyperX, which I don't have, like I said, I haven't used it in years. I used to use it before I even saw my spinal erectors, like at the very lower part of your back. I was like, oh, I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna bring them in, like you know. And honestly, I'm pretty sure like heavy deadlifting and sumo deadlifts and conventional over time really brought. I mean, like because my sumo is kind of unconventionally unconventional. It's like I pull with a little bend in, not as upright as some people, but I mean, it got the job done after when I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, got lean again, it's like I saw those erectors after, and I do attribute like heavy loading of deadlifting and heck, probably even I was doing some squatting too, like with
Dude,
the
you can tell who deadlifts when they get lean and who doesn't. You
yeah,
can tell
oh
their
yeah,
spinal erectors and
the
just
thickness
the
of them,
thickness.
yeah, you
And
can't,
that's something I really want to work on. So I am incorporating deadlifts back into the routine now that I've built up these other areas
above the
because I stopped deadlifting, because I focused on rowing, pulling, traps, rhomboids, upper lats, lower lats, all
right.
these different areas. Now bringing them back in, but I do still think they're overrated.
Yeah, from a whole, just from like a general, like big picture, I agree. I think that definitely it's more, it's just it's it's like clickbait to getting in the gym. Like everyone was like, oh, that looks sweet. It's like I want to be
It's
doing.
one,
You know,
yeah, it looks cool.
it looks cool, but long term, really, it's gonna be based on where you need the most in your physique that you want to. Exercise selection is likely gonna go in a different direction for you.
Right.
Um, I mean, but yeah, to your point, if the lower back is something you need to bring up, and I definitely think they can be a supportive exercise in that, getting there. I
There's
agree.
a time and a place for everything, and all of these exercises are just tools. So you're just like, okay, the Smith machine's a tool, the incline bench is a tool, cable flies are a tool. These different techniques are tools.
Yeah,
High intensity techniques, when to use them, where to use them, what muscle groups do you want to tax out? Do I really need to be doing high intensity techniques on my chest if my chest is my strongest body point? Probably not.
right.
Probably not. Although it's fun because
Yeah,
training what feels good is fun. We all have those areas where it's like, man, I really feel this, and it's just like it responds really well. So I just want to just like go crazy on it.
yeah,
But really, the things to go crazy on are like the things that you're not so strong on.
right. Exactly. Yeah, you need to bring up what your weak points are and
Yeah.
really focus on those.
All right. So we're 1 for 1, right? That was my number one. What's your number two?
So my second overrated one is honestly, I see so many people doing them, but I just don't think it's necessary in the amounts they do them. Is sit-ups. It's kind of,
Sit-ups. Okay,
yeah.
interesting. Go ahead.
And I think it's more the way people view them. Like they're like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
poor, I'm gonna get,
Yeah.
those that six pack and stuff. And
Yes.
I think, research is playing to the benefit for most people now. Like the general public is starting to see this more, but I still see a ton of people in there in that section, that section of the gym, not in the weights,
The
not
posing room.
posing room, the group fitness section where a lot of people,
Yeah.
some you see women take their dumbbells there and stuff, and some guys do their core there. Like they'll just do nothing, like a ton of sit-ups and ton of ab work. And I'm just like, yo, like, yeah, like maybe to develop those muscles, make them, and increase the size. I mean, for sure, there's a cable crunches and stuff would be beneficial, but dude, doing all the sit-ups and stuff that in those variations, I don't think it's necessary. Like you can have a solid core underneath there if you just, diet down to find out, like so I
Yeah.
think that's more I really just I don't see
I
the
think a lot of women do it because they're not so keen on going over to the free weight section where all the like guys are, and where all the just the weird funky stuff's going on, people grunting, all the different personalities and stuff like that. It's kind of
right,
just like a safer place,
right,
Also, if they're not so confident, maybe they've been new to the gym, haven't been doing it for a long time. They're still at that beginner level. Maybe they're just a little self-conscious. So it's kind of like a little corner away from everyone, and there's just not that much to do over there. So
right,
let's do sit-ups. And I agree. I agree. And kind of with core, because like when you think about like if you spend so much time focusing on sit-ups, that means you're focused on your core. What makes your core really look good is outside of dieting, building the muscle so you create the shape and you create the appearance of a smaller waist because the bigger the wider you are in the top and on the bottom, the smaller your waist is.
right. Like you
So
build your shoulders up, build your lats. Like that's the true. I even have an old post about that. Like it's like, hey, you're looking at a smaller core. Like maybe we should pay attention to more of how you're doing
yes.
your lat execution for your back exercises and your lateral delts. Like really hitting home with those. And I think, and honestly, you work your core. If even if your goal is like, well, I still want a strong core, you pick up a dumbbell or select a weight that's heavy relative to you, and just try to stay still while you're doing it. You're gonna feel your core work. You're gonna feel your core work with most movements that you do in the gym. Honestly, like just by stabilizing your body to perform the movement. Like it's just gonna happen. Like,
Mhm.
and if you find that out more as you get more intense in the gym and as
Yeah.
you progress over time. But yeah,
It's the number one question that I get from my clients when I ask, like, with this new training block, is there anything in particular in your physique that you're interested in focusing on? Torso, core, abs. So if
yeah,
we could add in some more sit-ups or something like that, well, yeah, we can add in some more core work. But what this really means is let's focus on your legs, your glutes, your quads, your lats, your delts, because the more we get these to respond and grow, the smaller your waist is going to appear. Not just when we're growing, or not just when we're cutting, but also throughout all phases.
yeah,
The more composition changes you make, the more I think it's also that's where a lot of people start.
yeah.
It's the
Where I
that's the
started,
part that people always want to focus on. Abs, core, and getting that part to show. And as we know, that's comes from all of these other muscle groups.
old me in the gym when I was in like I fresh out of high school would do planks every day. So it's just
I did in high school too. I mean,
yeah, every
I
day,
went
man.
to boarding school and I would be in there just doing sit-ups.
Yeah,
Sit-ups. And as a high school kid, like too, like some kids, like I just had abs. Like I always just had abs when I was in high school. I didn't work out, I just had abs.
But that's the thing. When I got really lean for the first time, like my abs are so bubbly, and it's just like part of me thinking, I was like, man, it's probably just from just spending countless months doing them. I mean, which
Well, yeah, you're doing a
if it
crap ton
develops,
of, they're gonna develop.
they're gonna
So
develop. Yeah.
I'm kind of going out of order here, but I want to piggyback on what we're talking about because I have the same idea. Hanging leg raises for abs. That
Overrated.
is, yeah. So anything, which is kind of funny because if you look at like, they make for great photos.
Mm-hmm.
Great photos.
Sick
If you're
photos.
because when you're hanging, your lats are flared out because
Yeah.
you're engaging your back. Especially when you're shredded, your waist looks super small in this position because your lats are flared out. And when you hold up, you can contract your abs.
Mhm.
However, that whole portion getting to that contracted position, that's all hips.
Yeah.
That is
You have to-
all hip flexion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is one of the least effective ab exercise. Look where the resistance at. There's so much legs and hips.
Yeah. It really is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I see a lot of people doing that because they see a lot of people doing that because it looks cool when you do it. But from a pure hypertrophy standpoint, which you should still build your abs, train your abs. If you want your abs to be visible, train them.
yeah.
Then there are way more effective ways of doing it. For me, I have two exercises that I do. And and with these exercises, I can target any portion of my abs that I want. If I want to focus on the upper, I can do that. If I want to focus on the lower, right in pelvis area, those bottom two abs, I can focus on that, which I really like because it makes for a great look when you diet down because you not a lot of people have those bottom abs defined.
Mhm.
So lying leg lifts with on a bench with weight.
Yeah.
So I always recommend it's not something you start off with weight. Your legs are weight. So like you got to factor in how much do your legs weigh, and when you're performing the movement and hanging, I like to hang my legs off the bench and focus on really stretching until I get a full range of motion in the lower abs and then back up. And the further you bring your legs up, the further up you're going to feel it in your core. So if you really want to focus on that bottom part, your movement is more like this.
Mhm.
That's it. Where if you want to really focus on the whole portion, you're really bringing your legs up like so and then down. So I like to put a dumbbell in between my legs when I do it. And you don't have to go crazy with this one.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to be like, all right, last week I did 20-pound leg lifts. This week I'm gonna do 25-pound. They'll go up. They're a muscle group. I don't think you really have to like really focus on. Like you're not gonna see me doing 50-pound leg lifts. Because at that point, once again, you're gonna be feeling in your hips.
Hips. Yeah.
You're
Your hips
gonna be
are
your
strong.
hips and your lower back, right? So, but also I really like decline crunches where I can put a weight on my chest or even behind my head and focus on control, really getting a good contraction. I feel that in my full core. But again, depending on how far you come up, you can and where you position that weight. If you bring that weight down, you're going to feel it in your lower abs.
Yeah.
And you're not going to need, for me to contract my lower abs, that's it. Boom. They're contracted right now. I'm feeling them right now.
Yep. Just to
That's
just to,
it. So this is all like even the sit up like that you were talking about. They're swinging and they're using their back to get up there. At that point, you're not using your abs anymore.
mm-mm.
You're using your back and your arms and your hips to get yourself there.
Yep.
You're all you're trying to do is contract. Dude, I'm contracted right now. I can feel it. So that's all you need to do. And then if you put the weight higher up, towards your chin, you're going to feel it in your upper abs.
Right.
So those are my two favorite ab exercises. And they're the only two that I ever use.
Yeah. Honestly, the decline crunches definitely are a go-to for sure.
Mhm.
I don't do a ton of ab work because I mean, as I get
More
like,
important shit to focus on.
I was like, I'm a
Yeah.
really small frame guy. So, I mean, I really need to, continue to bring up my lats and shoulders. More so
Yeah.
than anything, but
Yeah. And it's one of those things where too, like, so yeah, like you go, oh man, I could do this set of abs, but I could also just do two extra sets of rows or, one arm rows for my lats. And you focus on what focus on. I always feel like I'm not gonna let my genetics determine my abs. I'm always gonna train my abs and I'm always gonna train them hard. And I do. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm proud of the abs that I've built because they're not just genetics, even though like for me it's a really genetically gifted area. They respond really well, but I train them and I train them hard.
exactly.
So okay, so but I kind of just went out of order on that one. So what's your last one?
So my last overrated exercise, I would have to say is it's gonna sound bad. I mean, like I don't want to I
Worse
want
than deadlifts?
man, no, not worse than deadlifts. Honestly, maybe it's just an individual thing with me, but honestly, I don't like the rope hammer curls. It's gonna sound so
Oh,
weird.
okay. All right. Okay. You just
Um,
don't feel them?
I just I don't feel well with them. I feel like it's like even again, like we were talking about the hyperextension machine, like it's just I have to really get I think I just get a lot of forearm activation as it is, like with a lot of other movement, elbow flexion movement.
I could see where a lot of people wouldn't like them.
Yeah. It's just
You also don't have a lot of flexibility with
Mhm.
your elbows and your arms while you're there because everything is in front of you. Where if you have dumbbells to the side, you can kind of
Yeah.
shit. Sometimes I'm going like this with my hammer curls. Sometimes I'm going like this. It just depends on the day, really, where I'm feeling it.
I think definitely even like that, just I think rather, yeah, I'd much rather just get away with doing all dumbbell work with that if
Yeah.
I had to, just because of like the positioning and the rope. I feel like you have to just increase the load like after so long to get it to make it harder. And a lot of people, I don't think you can like, I think it's very hard to go to like true like failure with that. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just like
I get it. Have you ever stepped up on like a little because the range of motion on that too, by the time you get to the bottom, it hits the ground.
yeah. Yeah,
So like on like a step stool, standing up to give yourself a little bit more range of motion on that.
yeah, I've tried doing that. I tried this like just really like trying to fully extend my elbows too on top of it. I don't know, maybe it's like my natural like fully extension of my bicep curls like is hard like is like always like at a semi bent position. It's never like fully like I can't just it's hard being naturally just right here.
Yeah, I
Like,
just thought of another underrated one while you're saying that.
so it's just like just I can't that
Yeah, no, I get it.
I mean, maybe one day, maybe something in it, not anatomically, but maybe something like, I gain muscle on a
Have you ever done them one arm at a time?
one arm rope. I have not.
Yeah, you have a lot more flexibility. So
Mhm.
sometimes when I'm not feeling them, I'll do it. But also the stack's in front of you. So
Right. So
that's unique.
maybe like what is that called? Bayesian, Bayesian. I do a lot of them, bicep curls like that sometimes.
What's a bison curl?
A Bayesian curl. It's like Baye. I don't want to butcher the pronunciation of it. You got the cable behind you, and you're
Oh,
gonna
I know. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
like squeeze it like you're full extended.
You don't feel that in your tricep and shoulder? Like to me, that's like
If it's too far back, yeah. Oh yeah.
okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, it's that one is very lightly loaded because of that. I mean, I feel because to get a good contraction out of it,
Yeah.
but yeah, I feel like maybe if I tried it like that and then like did a rope and I was I don't know, kind of standing at an
You know
angle.
what's uh, an amazing underrated bicep movement is cable preacher curls, dude.
See, I wish I mean I've never tried. I mean, I can do it.
Oh my
I don't know
God.
why I've never done it.
They're so one both with a straight bar or one arm at a time. Oh my God, dude.
Like,
That the tension on that is so awesome.
what's the set? Like, would you put the bench there, the incline bench
Yes, you
there?
put the you put the preacher set up so you're hanging over
Right.
and the stack is in front of you.
Yeah.
And you're kind of twisting your body however you need to twist it. Sometimes
Yeah.
you're,
Like
however you need to
fully
do it to
sideways.
feel, yeah, well, however you need to feel it. And then obviously when you're using a straight bar, you have it in front of you. But man, is it awesome. Man, is it great.
I would totally. I mean, I might do that with an incline bench because that preacher machine curl, like the preacher bench we have at a gym, is like factory sized, like it's just like almost like nailed into the ground. It's not small by any
No,
means.
ours isn't either. It's a preacher spider. The one side's a preacher, the other side's a spider.
Oh,
So you know what I'm saying? And so I have to pull the whole thing
yeah.
over to the cable. So I have to pull, yeah, I pull the whole thing over the cable. The cable's right behind it though, so it's not a big
Uh,
deal. I'm not like dragging it
mine's like
across the gym.
mine's like over here, and then it's like all
Yeah,
the way down here. I'm like,
yeah.
oh man, people are gonna kill me if I
And
try
you're like, oh, here comes Mike again. But you get some extra steps in. But
to.
yeah, dude, if you could try that, I guarantee you'd love it. I guarantee because you and me, Tim, we're
Yeah,
like the same thing. So
I'm gonna have
it's
to give it a try.
it's so good. Yeah, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
I'm gonna get the bench set up. I'll experiment in here. I'll get the bench at an incline where I can just like stand at the side and do like a single arm. Like definitely
Yes.
something I'm gonna that and
Yes.
decline cable fly is definitely in the future for sure.
Do you train your arms on their own day?
Not right now. I haven't
What's your
had
split? What's your split right now?
so I got 3 heavy days and 3 high days. So my 3 heavy days consist of like they're both heavy and low. So I got a heavy chest and bicep, heavy back and tricep, and then heavy legs and delts. And then I have high variations of those 3 days as well. High rep.
Legs and delts is hard.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite. I utilize it. I
yeah,
do. Um, in fact, I'm utilizing it right now. But it's not my favorite thing in the world
yeah.
because if you're training legs the way that you should be training legs, there's not much room for there's
Sure.
not much room for much else after that. Yeah, those
Yeah.
delts are getting pretty much,
That's
sidelined.
it's funny you say that too, because like I do notice my delt work taking a hit from those
It's
because of
going
that.
to.
But when I look at my shots, and I don't know if it's just the difference in body fat distribution, but I'm like, I literally told Austin, I was like, oh man, I just feel like my shoulders are really taking a back seat. And I'm like almost came to acceptance with it. And I was looking back and I'm like, wow, like I'm getting away with less volume and still seeing progress in them. So I'm like, I don't know if it's just because like I'm not doing as like much junk volume, I guess I should
Mm.
say. I don't maybe
Probably
that
just getting better too, Like one thing
yeah,
I feel like is like
yeah,
the more muscle you build, the easier it is to feel your muscles.
yeah,
It
yeah,
makes perfect sense. The bigger your muscles are, the easier they are to feel. So the more reps that are counting,
right,
um, the more effective those reps are,
right,
the stronger you are. So and then also the more skilled you are.
right.
You're
That
skilled. You don't just stop getting
no, you don't get worse
better.
at it.
You get better. That's what
Yes,
I'm saying. Like this off season, it's like every off season should be better than the last off season because you're better at what you're doing.
right. And honestly, yeah, this to your point, this is the best one I've had. I mean,
It's the
in
way it should
all,
be. Like no off season should be worse than why would other than if something is going wrong, like say, maybe you're having some health issues or like a real bad life circumstance or something,
right,
you're or an injury or something. No off you're there's no reason an off season should be it should be worse than the previous off season. You should
I
always have better off seasons. And
I
so that's what also is like super productive because then you want to, live in those off seasons longer.
yeah. Honestly, I can
Right? Like it's like you
United State, you know.
when are you going to prep again? Did you say? Or I know you got, you're playing it well, year by year with the baby coming.
Yeah, I'm hoping potentially 2025.
Okay. All right,
Maybe
cool,
like
cool.
end of it, midway through end of the seasons,
Yeah.
maybe.
Because that
Uh,
will have been 5 years since your previous one, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so hopefully, but we'll see. I want to kind of, make it as least invasive as possible so
Dude,
that
you're only going to be a better competitor for it.
um,
I mean, you're only going to, you have no downside.
yeah, that's the thing. It's like I've really tried to, and I'm hoping it showed, like, because I had like 30 of my friends and family at the show that I was at, because I'm like,
You
don't,
had 30 of your friends showed up to the show you were at.
that might be exaggerated number, but it was at least like, I got a
First
picture
off,
on my
you got
Facebook.
30 friends?
Well, a lot of friends and family.
Damn,
And,
dude.
I wouldn't say it was 30. It would say more so along the line. That's over exaggeration. Probably like, yeah, I can go back and count on my like cover photo on Facebook. One of them it was like 12 or 15, like 12 or
You
14.
are likable though. I could see where you would have a lot of people. Yeah.
Same to you.
Damn. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate it. No, it was funny because like with my show, like people ask me to go and I'm like, no way. Nobody's coming to my show. I don't want anyone there. I don't want to have to entertain anyone. I don't want to focus on anything. I just want to go there, do my thing, and then leave.
Get the
At
job
that
done.
point, I'm just like, let's get this, let's get it done, and then hit the road as soon as possible. That's kind of like I've always taken that approach with shows. I've never really um I've never really been the biggest lover of competing.
Really?
Yeah, I've always loved the process,
Right.
and competing only makes sense. Like, why would you can't do all this and then not compete. And
Yeah.
I love everything. I love everything. And then the show day itself, those whatever hours, that's more of a like, let's just get this done. Like,
Yeah.
let's just do this. Like, I'm really like, I just want to get this done. So, I know a lot of people really like show day is here, and I'm like, it's just I've never loved it. I've never loved that part of it. I love the everything else. I love building muscle. I love cutting. I love the intensity of it. I love pushing my body and my mind. I love all the lessons you learn from it, and I love taking it to the extreme.
Right.
It's just the getting on stage and posing and all that. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. I think I love too is like the way I looked at it was like how like maintaining a big thing was me was like making sure I kept like my relationships in a good position while doing because that could be hard on a lot of people. Like you could really
Yeah.
if you dove deep into this, you could really really hurt some of those closest around you easily. Like my wife and I had a definitely a lot of growing throughout that whole process, along with me and some of my closest friends. Like is so, I think it made me appreciate more of those like conversations with them and just being more personal and it gave me a lot of good lessons to help teach clients throughout the process. So seeing them show up there that day was like, oh sweet. I'm like they finally saw what I was doing
That's really cool.
the whole time. So like I was like, I think it was just more along the lines of validation to me that hey, I didn't fuck this up with them throughout the
Yeah.
whole process. Like I held it together somehow. And I was very, I wouldn't say proud of myself. I was just very happy that I was able to not ruin that because I see people do it all the time. They ruin
Yeah.
relationships. It goes, and that
Not
really,
uncommon.
yeah. And another thing too, it makes you like it made me focus on like the food, like not the food, like since you're food deprived, like you controlled starvation, right? I mean, it makes you really focus on other avenues of your life where you can dive into. And like I learned like how to like just like my love for like the podcast realm, like listening to people and just like non-fitness stuff. Like I just dove deep into it, like dove deeper into like the sports that I watch. Like I had more focus on that stuff and more.
That's super productive.
Yeah,
Like
it's
focusing on other things
hmm
and having other interests because
yeah,
you're not so people have this tunnel vision. And let's say your prep is 8, 10 months or whatever, and you go into prep and you're like, let's fucking go. Like, I'm laser focused, ready to crush this. And it's, day one of prep.
yeah, yeah,
You gotta, you gotta bring it down because there's nowhere to go from there, and you're not going to be able to sustain that to the end. And
right,
that causes a lot of stress and puts a lot of pressure, and you're just focusing on it. And if you focus too much on it, it starts to cause you to overthink, causes anxiety,
right,
stress, all these different things. So having these other interests outside of bodybuilding, that's so important. And I find that the competitors and athletes that do have other interests, they do the best, they look the best because they're not so stressed out.
right,
They're, I mean, if you only have this one thing, you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. And your inner world is going to feel that. Your wife is going to feel that. Everyone's going to get sick of hearing about it. Oh man, I hit my macros today. So the thing is, train and leave the intensity in the gym. Like bring that intensity to the gym,
leave it
and
there.
then for the rest of the day, you don't say like, "Oh yeah, time to get this meal in. Now let's digest this meal. All right, let's go." Just
Exactly.
hit your macros, relax, stay even keeled, stay steady,
I
and then let the process do its thing. And that's it. And then, but by the time you get to the end of prep, yeah, then there's a time to turn that dial up.
right.
By the time you get end of prep, that's when your energy is low and you're sitting in the parking lot and you're like, oh God, I have no energy. I feel terrible right now. That's the time to be like, let's fucking go. Like,
Yep.
time to get this shit. Like, I'm ready. I'm gonna give this thing all I have. If you've been like that the whole time, that's not gonna have an impact on you by the time you get to that.
Right. And this is always the thing. If this is your thing, it's not their thing. I always tell myself that
Yeah.
because there was a
Yeah.
point where I was like, "Hey, can we not talk about prep today?" And that was the instant like, "Yep, this is my thing, not your thing." I got to remember that. It's just
Yeah.
it's funny. It's crazy how like how successful like the ones that get that how well they stay and how long they stay in it too.
I've never been in a relationship while I prepped.
Oh man,
It's just never lined up that way. Not
yeah.
intentional. It's just never lined up that way.
It brings its challenges. I mean, it just brings you more like you need. It definitely it forces you to be more self-aware. I feel. I mean, because it's you want to make sure that relationship's good, right? I mean, but
Yeah.
it definitely it makes you more aware because bodybuilding's selfish at the end of the day to a degree. Like, kind of have to be if you want to be really good. There's a degree of selfishness that comes with it. But if you can make that process as like I said, minimally invasive on someone as it can be, I think that definitely can make
I
it
can see I
like
can
much
see
better.
exactly what you're saying, especially like, hey, you want to go see a movie, you want to go, it's date night. Oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I feel so they're gonna get sick of hearing how tired you are and how bad you feel. Eat a
Right.
hamburger if you feel that bad. Doing this to yourself. Or like, well, just because I can't dine out, now we can't dine out. So there's got to find ways to
Yeah.
integrate this. And I think it would be very difficult to have a partner who wasn't supportive of this,
Yeah.
to know kind of like, okay, Mike's going into this 8 months, not a huge deal. I know it's important to him. At this point, it's part of his damn career.
Yeah.
Let me have his back, you know, but
Yeah.
then, there's a time and a place to be like, let's go. Like, now it's time to do you stuff or us stuff. Can't,
Yeah.
there's got to be a balance. You know,
Yeah.
you both are giving to the relationship. It's not fair if you're just taking.
Exactly. She was, yeah, she definitely, and thankfully my wife was supportive of it. And, it's definitely, I communicated up front with her, hey, I'm doing this. And I think, yeah, you just got to communicate. And if you don't, and
Yeah.
that process gets harder and harder as you get deeper and deeper because you lose energy and you have to be
Yeah.
making sure that box is checked off every day. So,
Yeah, no. Do you ever feel pressure to compete or get lean because you just, showing your clients, showing having content, producing content and kind of showing that you walk the walk as far as that goes. Do you ever feel like, fuck, I know that I shouldn't prep right now, but should I prep? Because being lean is impressive. And if I'm shredded, then they're gonna know, hey, Mike really knows his stuff. Mike's really, walking the walk. I'm dieting. Like even sometimes I feel I don't like to talk about my food when it's high because I got clients that are cutting. So I don't like to really be like, because you talk about what you're doing. If I'm cutting, I'm talking about lower calorie foods. I'm talking about that. That's just what's going on in my life. If I'm growing, I'm talking about growing and getting in food. Now, does my client who's on 1,700 calories want to hear about me who's on, damn near 4,000? No, like that's not what they're wanting to hear. And so
right.
sometimes I don't like sharing about that side because
It's like rubbing
it,
in, yeah, like
even though it's not, it
not,
isn't, but yeah.
right. You like in the back of your mind, like, yeah, you're definitely thinking of them and you're like, ah, man, that probably wouldn't feel so
Do you know
good.
what I'm saying?
I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I would, I mean, I would feel like that. It's the other, like, oh, damn, their macros are so, I'm like, you get in that comparison game and it's like, oh, how
Right.
are you eating that much, And I,
Meanwhile, you just prepped for a
yeah,
year and you just competed
yeah,
and your food was lower, but also, and then they might look at it and be like, oh, he's eating that. I want to do that. I'm gonna have some, I'm gonna do, if he can do that, I can do that.
right,
Lead by example. So sometimes I just find it's better to not talk about so much of the food stuff. Show like I don't really show what I'm eating anymore because I don't want to for my clients that are cutting and focusing on that, I don't want them to get swayed from what they're doing based on what I'm doing because I'm in a completely different part of my growth phase.
right. I used to do that too a lot, and I'm guilty of that where I would post like a lot of my food and I still do from a standpoint of like showing situational based things that you can have that are because I'll eat some macro friendly food still, like I mean, to still hit my numbers even with my current growth phase.
I
So,
know you're eating that protein sludge
oh,
still.
dude, still,
Yeah.
it's like I had this. No, I didn't have it this morning. I had it yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, my protein pudding. But I still love it. But
I didn't tell you about did I dude, the Pure Bars, so those
oh
got me
yeah,
through vacation.
yeah,
I stocked up on those. So
yeah,
I was eating those 3, 4 at a time. Like as a full like I think 4 of them's like 80 grams protein.
yeah. It's super high.
So yeah, so like for the plane, 4 pure protein bars went down. That was it. Oh, I didn't even need to bring anything else on the plane.
Dude, yeah, I love those. Those are the best. I did that. I was telling you when I
I
was.
also didn't get searched.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm surprised. Usually they pat all of us bodybuilders down with like creatine and
Yeah, no, I did not get searched. I am going to Arizona this weekend, so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
if you could put the test. I was last April when I was in Arizona, they patted me down because I had creatine and I had like
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the one that gets them.
yeah, it's not cocaine. It's not
I
cocaine.
know. It looks like it. It's a
Okay.
white shady powder.
Not what it looks like.
Yeah, I know.
Test it. Yeah, do it. It's
Right,
gonna
right,
pass.
right,
But
right.
yeah, no, the pure protein, man. I've been relentlessly searching for the birthday cake flavors. It's like
Yeah,
the
you said something about that birthday cake flavor, so I'll have to.
favorite. Oh, one of my favorites.
Yeah, you're
But
hyping it up.
it's so hard to
Yeah,
find. So hard to find.
I did have sushi too while I was away.
Ooh. Did you?
Yeah, I did a sushi meal and cupcakes. So I went
Okay.
to so I was in Naples, Florida,
Yeah.
and so I so we did sushi. I only had one estimated meal. My dad has more food than I didn't even have to go grocery shopping when I was there. He had
Yeah.
so much food that he had bags of beef jerky. Who has bags like the big bags of beef jerky?
Jeez.
You
Like
know when you got the big bags of beef jerky like in the pantry, like you're stocked. So
yeah.
he had so much food because normally I'll just go and then I go on vacation or go on vacation. I just go and then I hit the grocery store. I didn't even need to go grocery shopping. He had so much stuff. And so I was just like, well, I'll do my estimated meal, not estimated, my special meal. And I'm like, I waited till, the first night they had like because there was a bunch of us and they had like I don't know something, and I'm like, nah, I'll handle my own stuff for tonight. Don't worry about me. I got this. Um, but then when sushi comes around, I'm like, all right. So I put the order in for sushi. We did that, and then earlier in the day, I drove down after the gym. I went to Fifth Street in Naples, which is like that's like the main
The main
like
boulevard. And
that's the main thing. And I scoped out a bakery and I went there and I got like 12 cupcakes and they were so good, dude. They
oh,
were so good. They were so good. I didn't even take any pictures. Like because I normally I'll sometimes shoot a picture over to you and let you know like what's going down,
oh yeah.
but I didn't take any photos. It was one of those things where I was like, damn, I didn't even take a photo, but it was like Butterfinger, black and white,
Oh,
Oreo, and the way that they had it was like it wasn't so overpowering with the toppings. Like it was almost like a weird, like a dust, like a fairy dust on it. It was unique as hell.
it's
It was
magical.
so they were so good. They were way better than the cupcakes I've been getting from here.
Really? They
Yeah, and the cupcakes I've been getting from here, they're like you saw them, the ones I brought with Cliff and
oh
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they're
so good.
crazy. Yeah,
They
they were good, man.
I what is the last time I was in down south, we love Publix. I love going to Publix, getting a Publix sub.
I
Like
never
that,
even heard of it.
dude, oh, it's if you go to a Publix in Florida next time you're there or anywhere south, like they have a deli and they have like boar's head meat and they have different
Damn.
types of breads.
Is
I don't know.
that like what's Boar's Head meat? Is that like the face meat?
No, it's the brand. Like
Oh,
they
oh,
just have really good cuts. Like I know I get
oh.
like
Hmm.
pepper turkey and stuff, and I'll get a pub sub every time I go, and it's literally just a deli shop with like certain breads that they carry, and I'll get like this giant pepper turkey wheat sub and peppers,
That
dude.
sounds good, dude.
It's so freaking good. Every time I'm on
Yeah.
vacation, I'm like, we need to go to Publix at least once.
That's
And
like your
that's
vacation
my
check box.
yeah, it's like that, and a
Yeah.
solid like we'll go get donuts and stuff. Like we
Oh
like
yeah.
like
They
it's so good. We don't even have like for our wedding, we didn't have cake. We had donuts because
hell yeah, dude.
my
Good for you. Like, why not?
yeah,
Yeah, that's
my
like I bet
parents
people
like it's
appreciated
so
that.
they loved it. My brother made a donut rack, and we hung them all on this rack. And I'm not kidding you, dude. Like my wedding day, I probably had like a dozen donuts, like by myself. I mean, it's your wedding day, so
Yeah, it's your wedding.
whatever.
It's your
But
wedding. It doesn't whatever.
it was so good. Oh man,
So speaking of donuts, they opened up. Have you ever heard of Voodoo Donuts?
yes, I have.
They opened on up in Chicago, right near me.
How far are you from Chicago?
Like an hour.
Oh, that's not far.
Yeah, I just jump right on the highway and I go to Chicago. So it's like awesome. Like if ever like say I have a date or something like that, and I just jump like the highway is literally right around the corner. I just jump on the highway, shoot over. I'm in downtown within an hour, and
Yeah.
then boom, right back. So it's like a concert. Like I'm going to a concert here in a few weeks. Chicago's the place to go.
Where you?
Comedy show, anything.
What concert are you going to?
The Plot in You. It's like an emo kind of metal band.
Oh, I never heard.
Dude, okay, so they're awesome. Like this is the kind of music that sends you while you're training.
Yeah.
So I told you I haven't really been listening to dubstep because of just making this stuff so much.
Yeah.
I got a project coming out. I'm probably gonna release it next week.
Okay.
Um, but with training, I tend to lean into like heavy metal, screamo, stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
this is their that's the genre they're in. They're awesome. A plot in you.
A plot in you.
Yeah, a plot, PLOTINYOU.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, super badass, man. Yeah, my gym playlist has been killing it lately too. Like I got my finally got my playlist set up to like I can just hit shuffle and it's
Yeah.
just banger, 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 banger. Like so it's like I don't even have to really think about it while I'm training.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm big on playlists.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'll have to give it a check. I'll have to check them out.
It's sick, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really good tracks that have some like amazing riffs that will just like when you're in the set, you know what I mean? You're like, ah.
It's funny. You say the riffs, and my buddy, he just came in from Cleveland last weekend, and he loves heavy metal. He's one of the PTs I used to work with at the clinic out in Cincinnati, and he he would always listen like just to like because my friend and I get a kick out of it. Like he's like he's like when the riff hits, and it's like literally it's just when it hits hard, and it's literally just like squealing pigs and like just like absolutely like all out metal, and then he'll I forget what it was, something a crazy name. Jim, if Jim was watching this, man, that'd be hilarious. But he's what is it? It's not squealing. It was something squealing pigs, anal rapage pig. It's something.
What the
Yeah,
hell?
it's so extreme. It's like think of the most extreme like metal genre,
Yeah.
and like they are a part of it. And he like would send me like Instagram or TikToks is like they're in the like these two people in the driveway. No, it's like the two people working at Dunkin' Donuts. Like, oh, what's that noise? And it's like like pigs
Just
squealing. And
screaming
it's like
stuff.
my car, and it's like him in it, and it's like
That's that music where it's like pits are going crazy. You know me, man. I don't get into the pits.
I I I wouldn't want to be in them.
I don't want to. I'm not looking to get into all that stuff. I don't want anyone touching me.
Yeah,
Like, don't. I don't want to be touched. Like,
I don't
I want to
either.
be in my own little space.
Yeah.
I don't need sweaty ass men and sweaty ass women all touching me, man. You ever have someone that just their elbow touches you and you're like, oh my God, why is there fucking goop on me? Like, what is that? Like,
I think of the
I need a
scene.
shower.
Oh, I think of the scene from Along Came Polly when they're playing basketball, and this guy had this old man has his shirt off, and it just like, this guy has his shirt off, and he's like hitting Ben Stiller in the face with his tit, and it's like all hair and sweaty, and it's like just like slow motion hitting him. Like
How
that's
did
what I
we,
think of.
how did we even get here in this conversation? I don't even know how we got from what were we even talking? Oh, we were talking about splits.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, so this is my favorite split. This isn't the split I'm on now. But my favorite split is chest and delts, back traps, abs, legs, arms, repeat.
Okay.
You're
That.
hitting everything twice.
Yeah. Yeah. You're getting everything twice a week. Yeah.
Legs are on their own day.
Right.
Back is on its own day. Well, you have abs on back.
Interesting.
So I like having those really big and chest and delts, those two pair really nicely because also, wait a minute. Did I give my last? I didn't give my last overrated.
Yeah, I don't think so. No.
Shoulder press.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Shoulder press, dude.
Any
Dumbbell shoulder press,
variation?
barbell shoulder press. I think that is so overrated. It's one of those where you look cool doing it because you could load up a lot of weight and you look big in that position. Just when your arms are back, you're wide, your delts popping. Dude, most people don't really need to be doing that much front delt work, dude. Like your front delts, if you're from all your incline pressing and pressing, your front delts, I could do no front delt work and still look, and my front delt's still popping out like crazy.
Right. No.
So I really backed off on my front delt work. I'll throw in a set every other week, every 2 weeks. And it's only like a set of like 15 to 20.
Yeah.
I don't like loading up heavy on shoulder press. I don't think it's necessary. And I'm not trying to really build my front delts. It's my front delts are built.
Right.
Um, I want to focus on my sides and my rears.
Right.
You
That's
know, you don't want to neglect it and let it go completely untrained. But throwing in a set as an afterthought isn't a bad thing when it comes to front delts. So I find front delt press, and I like machines for front delts.
yeah. I have one shoulder press machine in my whole entire split, and that's a shoulder, like a seated shoulder press, like
Yeah,
machine. That's it. And it's three
yeah,
sets. That'll get by. That's enough. Like
yeah,
with the front with interior delts there. That's definitely
yeah. I
that's,
really like having arms on their own day. Arms is a place that I've been focusing on, and I've seen a lot of great results in that area by just not having them have, by the time you get to biceps after you've done back, your biceps are not going to be getting, your full attention.
right.
Triceps, on the other hand, before biceps, um, triceps don't take that much out of you.
Correct.
And they, the blood flow from your triceps to your biceps once you're wrapped up with triceps, because I like having triceps first.
Yep.
Um, it's like boom. All of a sudden, it's like the hamstring and the quad. It's the like the exact. When you get onto the leg extension machine after you've done hamstring curls, and you could feel like the pump in your hamstring, like you're almost like the back of your legs is padding. Like it's this weird feeling, like it's almost like padding I got on, and then the blood flow from there into the knee for leg extension is immediate. It's all down there. So by
Oh,
the time you do that with your triceps and your biceps, within the first warm up set, you're ready to rock.
oh, for sure.
And yeah, I just find it so effective. So that's definitely my favorite one. Also, I think I threw in skull crushers too as overrated.
Yeah, I think they're the elbow destroyer sometimes. Honest,
So here's the only way I can do skull crushers with dumbbells. So having the freedom
to
with
move.
my elbows, I can't have my elbows locked. I do not focus on, how you're told to lock your elbows in when you do triceps. I
I've
do
heard.
not do that.
Yeah, I can't. I mean,
I let I let the elbows do whatever they're gonna do.
they can run
If
free. Yeah,
that run free,
run free.
that's total run free elbows, run free. Um, and Cliff told me that I was
As
having some elbow pain, and Cliff said, "Just let your elbows do whatever they're gonna do. Don't focus on your elbows." That was it. That was it. Like, that's all I needed to hear because you were just
I
told.
I saw that. I saw him he made a post about that like years ago. I remember that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was that and like like how the benefits of kickbacks, like they actually are good exercise, like for like
I'm not
'cause I
the
saw
biggest fan of kickbacks. He loves kickback. I'm not the
he
biggest fan
loves
of
that.
kickback.
Yeah, I know, but that I think it was
Yeah.
the same post. Like he was like talking about that, but yeah, he's like let your elbows. It was like tricep tips, training tips. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember him saying that, and I'm like, so I like since then I applied that. I was like, because I used to be such a stickler about keeping him still.
Same, dude. And then you probably had elbow pain.
Dude, I double.
Because you're locking your elbows in, dude. Your elbows don't want to be locked in.
And I was a cook in college, like at my in my hometown for like the last semester of my like physical therapy school. So I'm
Yeah.
sitting there with the fry cutter after lifting like strenuously all morning. Like I had to lift the
Yeah.
hook at night, and I'm using a fry cutter. I'm like, oh God, I'm like my
Yeah.
elbows are crying.
Dude, yeah.
It's
It's
just
like an elbow pain. Expect now you want to throw in skull crushers while keeping your elbows locked in? Forget about it, dude. Your elbows are done. That's a time game.
yeah,
So I really like dumbbell skull crushers, and I'll only do them in a higher rep. I won't go real heavy with them. I
yeah,
will not, because being in that position where your elbows are, and I'll throw them I like having them either in the middle or the end of the lift
I do too.
when they're fully warmed up and they're ready to go. Because that's your tendons and your everything's in a compromised position in that skull crusher position. Um, I'll also only do them once every other week or every 2 weeks, because if I do them every week, especially if I'm training, triceps twice a week, which I am, then my elbows are going to get destroyed.
Oh,
So that's an exercise that I feel is overrated big time, because you're like, oh, elbow. If you want mass, then skull crushers. It's like, no, it's just another exercise, just another form of resistance. It's not going to perform. Push downs are going to add mass. Like, it's all going to add mass. Like, you know how like some people are like, this one's for adding mass and this one's for adding detail.
yeah.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that whenever.
Right? Isn't that the thing? It's like, okay, so close grip bench press, that's going to add mass to your triceps, but straight bar push down, that's going to add detail.
Yeah, that's going to be the
Isn't
finish.
mass detail? What it like? Muscle is muscle, right?
More muscle will more
Yeah.
show, it's yeah. But I can't tell you how many times I was hurt. Like
That's a
I was golden with that.
that's like it's just some of these like old school terms, like that kind of toning, or whatever. Like it's just
Professional toning.
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, dude, those are all the ones that I had. Like the last one I had was skull crushers. So I guess I had three: shoulder press, hanging leg raise, skull crushers, and deadlifts. So I had four.
Yeah, I honestly I think mine kind of run parallel with yours. It's just especially the triceps. I didn't really I actually didn't think of that one, but I was looking back. I'm like, God, I hate like when's the last time I've actually done an easy bar skull crusher? I'm like,
Oh
because
no,
it
dude.
on the second week it's too painful to do,
I know. Yeah, a lot of yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like you gotta you can't do it every lift, And I probably won't ever do like there's some exercises I won't ever do. I'll never bench press again. I could confidently say I'll never barbell bench press again. It's just not going to happen. I'll never easy bar skull crushers again.
yeah.
I've done them too many times and I've gotten fucked up too many times, dude. I've learned. I've learned.
I think that's what it takes though sometimes, a lot. I mean, eventually something's not gonna agree with you and you'll definitely figure out as to, why I did it and it definitely
Whenever you see a pec tear online, what is it?
it's a bench, man. It's a flat bench.
It's a fucking bench press, man. I think I've saw one. I saw this one where this guy was shoulder pressing like some crate. I think he was shoulder pressing and his elbows were out. He was shoulder pressing an insane amount of weight. He tore his pec to the point where you saw that, you know what it looks like. You see the tear. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he finished the rep, dude. He finished the rep out. Have you know the video I'm talking about? This dude
No,
finishes the rep out, lowers it controlled, and then goes, ah.
but I got the rep.
He did. I don't know how he did it.
That's terrible. Oh,
Like you would think as soon as that shit snap citted, that he would just drop the weight. He like went through and like
you'd think, man. That's
yeah,
terrible.
those things freak me out.
Yeah,
Those things freak me out because that's like I don't know where you go from there.
uh, I've seen a couple pec tears. I've rehabbed a couple. I mean, quite a few in outpatient, and it's not fun. Definitely the recovery process is very it doesn't feel good, and you're like very limited with activity the first couple month or two just because you're
There's
so
a
up and protected.
there's a real oh man, some of those I hate getting shown these videos, but there's also like one I think where this guy's doing a preacher curl.
Hmm. The
Both.
bicep.
Both. It was
Oh,
one and then the
yeah.
next. Both at the
I
same
did see
time.
that one. Yeah. Oh, no, thanks. No, thanks. God. It's
Yeah, that's like the worst case scenario ever.
and
Like
you
both at the same time, you're just screwed.
even like a shoulder injury, like a rotator cuff, sometimes like or a labral tear, like some people have like bicep tears with it.
Yeah, because everything connects right there.
Yeah, so like I see that a lot. I see that
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot. No, no
Yeah.
thanks.
It's gotta be smart. right? You got to
Yeah.
think about that stuff.
Yeah, if you think long term in this, always please.
Right. Well, Mike, do you have anything else to add? Is that I mean, I think we covered everything. Talked about some
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
stuff.
They definitely. I think just those, just take it with a grain of salt. What we said earlier,
Yeah.
and but also, do what you want to do, but just know that it all comes with a trade off and
Yeah.
a cost. Better return on investments for some exercise than others.
Yeah. Right. Like we're not saying if you love bench press, don't bench press. Just because we're not bench pressing doesn't mean you shouldn't bench press. If you
Right.
like it, do it. Um, if you don't like it and you're doing it just because that's just what people do, then these are some really good alternatives that work for us. We're talking about this is stuff that we find works for us. And also, we pass this wisdom down to our clients and see a lot of great results there too. So it's, also been, you know, trial ran, we've ran it and, you tend to share these same things with your clients, share these insights as well.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that you want to promote? As usual, I'll have your thing. I also, man, we're gonna get this team podcast going. Slow moving. Still waiting on hearing back from a couple people, but I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to that. We'll get some other voices in here. Get a nice a nice group of you, me, Cliff, Austin. Hopefully, Katie and Evan want to join in.
Yeah.
I think we could really touch on a lot of different stuff
I
with
agree.
that podcast.
Ton of different perspectives, which would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, if you want to, my Instagram's Snyder Aesthetics. Definitely it'll be, it's usually
Yep.
below, and Unrivaled Coaches. Definitely that's definitely where you can find Mikey and I
Mhm.
at, and definitely there's more content to come from us here in the future. I
Yeah,
know,
we'll have to figure out our next topic. We'll get something
yeah,
going.
yeah,
We've
for
done
sure.
training, so maybe we'll go back to. Did we do training on the last one, or did we did diet, muscle growth?
We did like I think we did no, there were like growth phases that we're in, just touching up.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to bounce around some ideas, and also for uh viewers, listeners, if there's anything that they want to throw at us, man, feel free. Bring. We would love to talk about some stuff that you guys want to hear. We're kind of just spitballing and coming up with these ideas of what we think that people would want to hear, or
Yeah,
like what would, provide the most amount of value. But if you guys have any ideas or even any questions, like a Q&A would be good too.
that'd be great. Yeah.
So maybe I have an idea. Let's do what we were talking about for the podcast. Why don't we both field some questions from our audiences, and why don't we do like a Q&A for this next one? I'll pick some good questions and we can go over that.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be more than, yeah, definitely open
Settled.
up. Yeah.
See how quickly we do things.
Just like that, man. It's instant.
Yep. Awesome, man. All right, Mike. I'll let you get out of here and go do your thing. Thanks for jumping on, and we'll talk soon, man.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me as always, Mikey.